Hello again, friends. Welcome to the Circle of Hope Pastors videocast here about Someone Asked, where today we have me, I'm Joshua, and with me is Rod and Nate and Johnny, and we're here to do a little 9-minute experiment about talking about certain topics that people actually ask us. So we talk a lot to one another in real life, but we thought we'd try this to see in some unscripted dialogue if this would be interesting, if it would help people along in conversations or create new ones. So today we're talking about, does God have a perfect match for me? And I'll just put it out there that I get asked this because people are online dating a lot more, and there's a particular Christian site that advertises that with them their slogan is "Find God's match for you." So do you get asked this too? Wondering if there's one person out there for each of us, and has God made that person for you?
Yeah, I get asked this a lot, primarily by singles who are kind of jammed up because they've been waiting a long time for just that right person, and they are evaluating every potential person based on if it's their perfect match. So the slogan of that dating site is a great one because it taps into something that people feel.
Well, I think it goes with that theology, doesn't it? That God is in charge of everything. God's sovereign, and so He's ordering your path. And so, if you don't obey His will and you don't go along the right path, then you'll miss your perfect mate. And you've got to do things right, and you've got to stay on the right track, or you might miss your happiness. As opposed to God actually being incarnate in our life as it is, coming into even our sin and death, and walking with us through this life into eternity. It's a different mentality, like I gotta do it right, so or I'll never get married.
When Paul talks about marriage, he almost talks about it like it's, well, if you need to get married, then just get married. I mean, he isn't really he's not talking about some divine person or choice that you're going to make that's going to match you perfectly with somebody. He's talking, his language is even different than the perfect match. So I always find that interesting.
Wouldn't you say, Johnny, that much the opposite, that Paul's language is all about taking things that don't match and bringing them into reconciliation?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Perfect match
that's,
made by love, not by some cosmic puzzle making.
Well,
yeah.
and that's the key, right? It's the we are made whole in Jesus, not in our relationship with another person. You know, Jerry Maguire messed us all up because of that elevator scene where she's saying, "You complete me." Uh, that's the cultural reference that everybody has. They're looking for that other person that completes them, rather than turning to the person who completes them.
Well, that was the best thing about Austin Powers in the sequel, right? If I could make a dated reference.
Nice.
Me and Dr. Evil, they were saying that to each other, and I was like, thank you. Finally put Jeremy Maguire in his right place.
Yeah, it makes it really hard if you're married and you're looking at someone across the breakfast table at about year 5, and you're saying, "Wow, this completes me." This can be a hot mess, and if you're always looking around for that perfection of the person that makes you feel completed or gives you that whatever it is you're looking for that God supposedly is promising you, makes it hard to be married, which is like a real relationship that requires reconciliation and self-giving love.
Yeah, let alone year 5. Sometimes it's just week 5. I mean, you're just starting your marriage and you're getting into all sorts of fights that you never thought you would get into. And then all of a sudden, you look at other people and you're wondering, well, they're a more perfect match than this person is. So maybe I missed the boat. Maybe I interpreted God's will incorrectly. So let me go try this out because this is less than perfect.
I always thought about my match and my marriage as something I was committed to, and just I was going to do it out of fidelity and faithfulness. not out of some sort of something that it was doing for me. I entered into it because I thought it was good for me, and I liked and loved the person I was marrying. But I sort of thought I could have married a bunch of different people, and that probably would have worked out too. It was about what I was entering in and how I was going to work that out with God and with another person.
I think that's realistic, and I can imagine somebody watching this and even being like, "Oh, I hope Jen doesn't see that." But I mean, I'm sure you've talked about that with Jen before, because it's,
Yeah.
it's not just about finding that person who looks good on paper, like the dream team or something. Well, I get to do a lot of premarital counseling or marriage counseling with couples, and sometimes the ones who look great on paper actually have to do an extraordinary amount of work in order to make their relationship satisfying or really fruitful, because some of the things that seemed obvious when they met, like they like the same kinds of music or they're both extroverted, those things become less important as you get further along in the relationship.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think a lot of people are looking for things in a mate that have this perfectionistic streak to it, and they don't necessarily look for faith or for hope or for love or for the things that really do last. They do, like you're saying, kind of look for things that are passing away, as if continually eating that kind of ephemera is really going to satisfy you. It's sad when you've got a consumer society turning one another into consumer products, so they just end up consuming one after the other. It's the opposite of what I think God really has in mind.
And in some ways, you could argue that the online dating culture, if that's what it is doing that even more. You're scrolling through, making judgments based on whether or not you even like the look of a person or the way that they frame themselves. It is a marketplace. And
I have a friend who's into the dating game, and he can't seem to commit to an individual because he keeps trying to find what he is calling a more valuable person, a higher person on his scale. And he can't seem to settle down with one person because he thinks he can always date someone better. And so my logic is, no, you can actually make your marriage better and make your marriage more perfect as you work out your lives over time. If you expect to get that from the get-go, you have trouble coming.
Yeah,
I
well,
have to
don't know
sympathize.
them better, right? If you don't know them, they're perfect.
I have to sympathize with people, though, when there's such a lack of community. People don't have many contexts in which they're going to figure out how to have love relationships, or how to even, figure out how they work as a person. It makes some sense. They really have a need. They want to belong. They want to connect. So even an online community where you're finding someone in a list, I feel for them because I think they want to connect.
Mm. I like that empathy. Nate or Johnny, you have any final thoughts?
I'm really tapping into the Rod's sympathy, though. The sympathy of people that are trying to work it out. They're working out theology too, especially when it comes to the sovereignty of God and that kind of Calvinistic doctrine of predestination, even when it comes to their love relationship. So I want to help them work with their theology and their woundedness surrounding finding that person or a person.
Well, we're out of time, but thank you three for joining on this. You're very precious to me and useful to the church and people that don't know you yet. And to all you watching, thank you. Subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share it around or add some comments about what you're thinking about, or if you have some ideas for what you'd like us to explore next time. So peace from us.